Yes, 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 yes! Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of It's Not That Deep, Bro! And we're back, episode 35. That's right, you heard it here at It's Not That Deep, Bro, episode 35. Ølund, how you doing, my man?
Coming on through with the new solution. We're back. I'm good. I'm ready to go, to be fair.
You ready to go? So should we just fucking jump straight into it? We are giving you a little taste of the power of this new app that we have called the Randy Master 5000. That's right. It's the upgraded version of the Randy Master 4000. We're coming. Oh,
I
this
swear it
is
was the 3,000 when we started.
And now it's moved to 5,000.
We've gone up 2 whole upgrades
That's right.
in one jump. It's quite incredible. So all I need from you, Martin, is a countdown.
You know it's coming in hot. At a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And the film we are watching is...
The hard drive had to kick into gear. Bear with me. The Good Shepherd, 2006.
Who's it by?
I have no idea. Let's
The
quickly
Good
check
Shepherd.
before we settle in to watch The Good Shepherd. So The Good Shepherd, is directed by Robert DeNiro. That's interesting. It features Matt Damon, and it tells the untold story of the birth of the CIA. Wow.
Oh, so this is a true story.
Apparently so, yes. I'm excited for this. Get yourself a copy of The Good Shepherd, directed by Robert De Niro, 2006, and we shall see you on the other side.
Peace out, motherfuckers. It's not that deep, bro. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are back after just watching The Good Shepherd, 2007.
6.
6?
Yeah.
Look it up.
Cool. Shall do.
Because I saw
Shall
it was
do so.
2007.
Oh, come on, man. Robert De Niro's done so much, it's so hard to just find simple things on his Wikipedia page. Yeah, 2006.
Fair enough. Well, why did my phone say 2007?
Because the internet is not a watertight place for facts. That's why. You have to be really sure about these things, you know.
The place where you just looked at where it came from. It's not a...
Well, it is, because that's like a massive...
Okay.
You know, that's what like a teacher would tell you at school, like, Wikipedia, anyone can edit it. Well, it's not been that way for like over 10 years. To edit something on Wikipedia, yeah, anyone can submit an edit to Wikipedia, but then it goes through a board of people that fact-check it. And it's sick, because it's actually people volunteer for that position. So each topic on Wikipedia has a board of people that are actually really interested in that topic that kind of maintain the truth of each page on Wikipedia. And you can click on the edit page, like just here, the talk.
Mm-hmm.
So now the page we're on here, this shows every single edit that's ever happened to the Good Shepherd page on Wikipedia, and it shows the full conversation that happened between the person that suggested the edit and the people that are in charge of this page saying, oh, well, we don't actually think that bit's true, and then they like debate the fact of it all. It's really interesting.
But that's the internet. And you just said the internet
Well, if we're
It's
going to get bogged down in semantics as we do as usual, then
oh,
yes,
bogged down in semantics
you
is
found
not
a way
like
that the sentence is wrong, that I'm wrong with that one sentence that I said. So well done. I'm wrong with that.
fair enough.
But I am
Good.
right about the fact that Wikipedia says that this film came out in 2006, and we are on the other side of a 3-hour. I would call that film a labyrinth.
It did switch between him being young and old all at the same time, but like without telling you. Do you know what I mean? Like,
You think?
yeah, did you not see? There were bits where he's like his son is already grown up, and then there's bits where he's like it's telling the story of like from when his son grew up. So like at the start of the film,
Mm.
you see him talking to his son on the phone, says, "Oh, be careful." But then as you carry on, he they tell the story of when he was younger and how he got into that situation that he's in now.
See,
And he switched between the two as the film went on. And I was like, what? So is this young him or old him?
yeah, that was well difficult to pay attention to because that's answered. I must have missed that because I thought it was weird how this tape that Matt Damon's character was like trying to work out who the person in this tape was for like the whole film,
Yeah.
and then it turned out to be his son. But in my head, I thought, well, he's been looking into this tape since before he even had a son.
That's why like it switched between the two.
Oh, I didn't
So
even
every
get that.
So every time like you heard about the tape, it was when his son was older. And then when you had like the stories of like how he got stopped seeing that Laura girl, the
Yeah.
deaf girl,
Yeah.
that was before he had his son. But then
Yeah.
he wasn't looking into it then because he didn't know. He was just a young man trying to get through life the best he could or whatever, and he tried to get into like the CIA and stuff.
So
That's why I was like, wait, I got it. I understood what was happening, but why is the transition not like being told? Like I
it
understand
wasn't
that.
explained
Yeah, it was
like that. But I guess if we're
Back
gonna
and
try and
forth.
like talk about the film and what it was, that I would love to make a film like that.
where you don't say what's happened.
More the
People I understood what like once it happened I could tell when he was older and when he was the older version of him or the younger version of him by his hair.
I see.
The older version had grey hair, the younger version had brown hair, like proper brown
When
hair.
I say I'd like to make a film like this one day, I mean this film doesn't hold your hand, as we've
No.
kind of just said, with the whole like it's not gonna. It throws a lot of material at you and says, "Work that out."
Yeah, yeah. I
Basically.
mean, it's a lot. I bet you know a lot more about the sort of stuff that they were talking about
Well, it
compared
was.
to me. But like I could see that a lot of it was like hidden. Like he was very, very secretive about everything that he did. Even though like at the start his father said to him, "Don't lie to your friends." But then you sort of like go through and then he's like, "Look, in this sort of business, you can't trust anyone. You ain't got any friends." But then he's obviously as his dad, he's like, "You don't lie to your friends and make sure you have good friends because they will help you. If you don't, you'll be alone."
Yeah, there's so many different things to talk about, like so many different narrative lines
Yeah,
to
yeah.
talk about. But I suppose, yeah, this film is about the dad, him, and his son. Those three people all play quite. He is in. He is the way he is because of his father killing himself
Yeah, yeah.
and the way that he lived his life. And that has made him very
untrusting,
reserved, very quiet, and he observes.
Yeah.
And he only says something when he needs to say something.
Which in the whole film, you're like, a lot of the people were saying stuff to him. Now they may be like rhetorical, so that doesn't need an answer. But like, if it was me or we would give it an answer. Do you know what I mean? And he was just there like,
yeah, he's very
let me
like
just leave now.
He's putting things together all the time. And then I suppose he has then raised his son in such a way. I guess parents raise their children in a way to hide them from the stresses and harshities that they've experienced.
Yeah.
Well, they try to, sort of thing. But then children are like curious.
Yeah, they like to look around.
Yeah, or just understand what's going on. And I suppose as anyone does, but due to the nature of his career, secrecy is inherent to being part of an intelligence officer.
Yeah.
So that happens anyway if your dad isn't an intelligence officer, sort of thing. Like, you're always wanting to know what's going on, and it all depends on how your parents are to whether how much you get told. It's like if there was like a disaster going on, you can either tell your kid like exactly what's happening, like a meteor's coming and we're all going to die, or you could be like, everything's going to be fine, Johnny, and just hug him until we all die. Like, it's different parenting styles, isn't it? And but it ends up in the kids becoming resentful. They'll be resentful for what you do, and they'll want what you didn't do.
Yeah.
That's generally how kids work. So can you see how it's got so twisted? So, like, Matt Damon's character's grown up to not live how his father was, but then subsequently that's made his son see him like he saw his father, even though he tried his hardest to make that not happen, sort of thing.
Yeah, okay. I sort of.
And it's like a chain reaction from many mistakes of scared, proud men. And it kind of trickles down into... Matt Damon's character was all about being a patriot. Being doing the right thing.
But it didn't sort of mean that like everything he did was...
No, he makes some terrible decisions. Awful decisions.
That's one thing I don't get about the whole like romance that he had. Like, what was going through his mind?
So this is
he had this like woman that like loves him or whatever, and then he sort of like, no, I'm gonna have sex with somebody else and have a kid with that person.
So
and then goes back and then goes.
It ties in with the father thing again, that he was so close to his mother, didn't get to have the father sort of thing for his whole child. He was very young when his father killed himself, so he's had that taken away from him. So all he had was the hug of his mother, sort of thing. So then when it comes to women, he displays a want, like he manages to get a lot of women.
He does,
because of his mystique, how quiet he is. That actually like helps him in the first stages of talking to women. But then when he gets what he wants, he's very it wasn't like wasn't love.
No,
it was simply just to
do it,
feel the touch of
another person,
another
woman.
It's like a hug, warmth, that like mother kind of thing that he had growing up. And then he moves on because he quite quickly gets sucked back into the thing that he's really in love with,
his job,
which is, but it's interesting because he there's a line in it where he says about I think it's Joe Pesci's character says he's going through all the races and he's saying that all the different races have something.
Yeah.
What do you have? And he says, well, I've got America. You guys are all just tourists here. in my opinion.
Bearing in mind that they took over America. It wasn't their land in the first
Well,
place.
yeah. Forget it,
Like,
forget about like all the inconsistencies with that comment from a historical standpoint. Anyway, I think by the end of this film, he's become like a tourist in America because he's not like he goes to so many different places in this film. England, he goes to
Cuba.
Yeah, Cuba. He's in lots of different locations, but he's always there not as an actual person of. He's not there as a tourist. You know what I mean?
He's there to.
He's there on a job, and once his family split up and he's not with his wife anymore, he doesn't have that like home to go to. His home was so nice. Like Robert De Niro's character says, this must be a nice place to raise kids. And there's a point when he has like the perfect situation. He's serving his country. He's got a beautiful wife and a kid, and it's all looking pretty, fallout, a nuclear family. But then by the end of the film, he can't trust anyone. He has the family is like busted apart, and he doesn't have that sense of home anymore. So he's like straight up just like a vagabond. He's like this soulless man.
It's because he's very quiet. I feel like the way that he is has just fucked him up for every single relationship he would have, other than saving his country, because he thinks. Which I see the CIA, and I'm like, these people are supposed to be what? The elite.
To an extent, yeah.
But you don't see them like do one bit of training other than like spying. So they're like what? Spying elites? Like,
Well, there's like.
are they like?
So this is like. This film's cool. I actually liked how this film predates the CIA, and you actually get to see how it like gets set up.
But is that true? What's happening?
Okay, so what's true in this film is he's taken like a lot of. It's a really fucking good film. The more I think about it, but he's like, there's characters in this film, right, that symbolize like 4 real people all at once, and life's like this film was complicated, but real life is more complicated than this film. You know what I mean? Of
course, yeah.
So if this film's really trying to show what that period of time was like. I believe this film to be really accurate, but if you were to say it would be really accurate, people would attack you because it's all fictional people. But if you understand what is trying to be said, you know what I mean? When I say, like, some of these characters play multiple different roles, sort of thing, if we're talking about them acting like real people. So you've got, like, the head of the CIA. So much in this film. I got to think about this. It was such a long and dense film. So you see,
it was a very long and dense
you
film.
see at the beginning, he's part of Yale.
Yeah.
Which is like the school to be going to.
Was Harvard not made there?
Harvard and Yale are the two. Sorry,
Yeah.
Like it's like Oxford and Cambridge. Harvard and Yale fill those gaps. And we've all heard of the infamous David Cameron filleting a pig head. The president, the prime minister fucked a pig head. You remember that?
Yeah.
Like 2016 or something it came out.
Oh my
And then
goodness.
Black Mirror did an episode that had something very similar in it, and it was all
I thought it was a Black Mirror episode, but that actually happened.
Yeah, that actually happened, man.
Wow, I didn't know that.
So that's because these universities, the high elite universities, have, well, I'm sure you're aware of like societies at universities.
Yeah.
And then I bet you're aware of American colleges, fraternities.
Yeah.
So that word just there, fraternity. Let's think about that. That word now is thought of, and you think of like the American
version of.
You think about like American
society.
Pie. You think about like 22 Jump Street.
Yeah.
And all of that.
Parties.
So
basically.
Parties. So you've got colleges and you've got different societies, and those societies or fraternities are based around, or the societies can be based around different hobbies, but the fraternities typically in America all have ancient Greek names, like Beta Gamma Pi, yeah, beta gamma pi, and then you'll like down a 6-pack.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So that is that's a whole thing in itself. What has happened? The fraternities have always existed, but they weren't always about nailing 6-packs and playing beer pong.
Okay.
They were groups at universities, but they were like after hours clubs for people to gather and talk about things they were interested in. And it's only over the past 40 years that they've become what they are today, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So
That makes sense.
yeah, as culture has moved in that direction. So, and especially at Oxford, Cambridge, Yale, if you go to like the worst university, then the parties are probably going to be sick. You know what I mean? You might not get a good education,
But the
parties are going to
yeah.
be sick. But if you go to like Oxford and Cambridge, the parties might not be so cool from like what normal people would want from a party. Like you're not going to get your beer pong maybe, but you are going to possibly get a good education and be able to go to some events and parties that allow you to talk to people that are interested in
Whatever you're doing, or whatever you want to do.
all sorts of different things. So, with all that in mind, the Skull and Bones Club is a fraternity,
Yeah.
and that
In Yale.
exists in Yale, and there was a bit of that kind of frat boy culture still in the Skull and Bones. You saw
When they were fighting
wrestling in the mud,
Yeah.
and there is that is where fraternities are at now. That's where they get it from. There's always been initiation, right? So like the new members of the group have to prove themselves in some sort of way, and that still exists in Freemasonry and all groups. Basically, it's part of being human, really. Initiatory. If you join a new workplace, they'll get you to go out for tartan paint or like something stupid like that. That even in like the most common of jobs, there's these initiatory things you have to do when you join the group.
Always, yeah, but like this, some of them may not be as harsh. Maybe they're just like, I don't know, let's go to the pub and down 2 pints and then see if you can do it.
So
You know what I mean?
universities,
the universities have taken it to another level.
they get very theatrical with it.
Yeah.
And it's because really fraternities are a whole thing that I can speak at length about because they date back to like ancient Greece, and
Okay.
there's a fascinating period of time where like about ancient Greece has many different gods.
Yeah.
They would be called like a pagan or a polytheistic society.
Okay.
Meaning multiple gods.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like Islam and Christianity just believe in that one dude. One god to rule them all, so to speak.
One ring to rule them all.
There was a period of time in ancient Greece when the Catholic Church had taken over and they were banning worshipping Zeus and all the Greek gods, and you had to worship big JC, So the people that still wanted to worship these gods would do it in secret at night behind closed doors. And that is kind of
fraternity.
Well, that's kind of where these fraternities, that's the whole thing right there. So it's to talk about stuff that you can't really talk about like at a normal party. Like that's the vibe. So David Cameron was part of one of these, and that was one of his initiatory rites that he had to do.
To fuck a pig head.
Put his phallus into the severed head of a pig, I believe, yes.
Wow. And what? Somebody must have leaked that information then?
I can't quite remember how that information made it to our lucky ears as the people on the streets, but it's that sort of... I can completely see that in British culture. We love butchers over here. I can completely see how that would be an initiatory rite of a
fucking a pig head.
High,
that is
elite British fraternity.
It's
very British, very British.
That's awful. That is. You know what I mean? Like, why do societies need you to go through this? Like,
Well, there's a few reasons. Like they showed quite a few of the kind of standard traits of a fraternal society. He had to tell them a secret that he'd never told anyone else. That's also very important because then they know something about you, and if you fuck everyone over, they can
leak that shit.
They can leak that shit. So everyone in the group, you have to do stuff that, like the whole probably that pighead information getting out was like probably angered everyone involved because the whole point of it is that David did it and he wouldn't be able to be in the group if he didn't do it.
Yeah, so then why?
But then once he's done it,
he's in the group.
He's in the group, but everyone's done something like that. You know what I mean? So it's one of those. That's how, not to get too dark here, but like hearing about like human trafficking and child sex rings and stuff like that. It's all very much like you have to do this because we all do this, and if you do it, then we've got dirt on you.
Yeah, and you're one of us or whatever. But then if you like sell out one of your own, then if it was sold out by one of their own, maybe somebody did some really good research and saw a picture or something.
Well,
Who
then there's
knows?
that. Yeah. That cocks the whole thing up. But this, and you start to see, just in that conversation there discussing societies, how important, it's said in this film, information is.
Yeah.
Information is power. So if
is.
you're a government and you're at war with another country, and Professor Dumbledore said this in this film.
It's funny because I heard but I read a quote from Bruce Lee that said, when you have children, instead of giving them what you didn't have, teach them how to get whatever they want, because gifts deteriorate and
physical items disappear and knowledge is forever.
Yeah,
I mean
forever,
that's a decent moral. But I was Dumbledore, the guy who plays Dumbledore, was in this film, and he says, well, at the beginning, he's in the Skull and Bones, and he's also hosting German American Society Club at Yale.
Yeah, American German Society.
Which is, so this film concerns, your question that you asked me was, why were these spies not trained, like military trained? Why was it all like just about gathering information?
Yeah.
So it's quite important, that like whole German society thing. So Germany, the Nazis, had a pretty decent intelligence operation going on in Germany during the rise of the Nazi thing. There was no CIA. This is pre-CIA, pre-MI5, pre-any intelligence agency. The closest thing that you had to something like that, you've got like the Knights Templar in the medieval times, and they were like the intelligence agency of the church. So like they were the guys that you send out to your like foreign countries to try and convert them to Christianity. But there are also like knights, so if they say no, they are powerful enough to kill everyone. And that's kind of like a spy, isn't it? Like you send someone out to spread propaganda, and if they don't like it, then you get killing. You
kill them.
Yeah, so
why not?
The Knights Templar are a good blueprint, but there's no intelligence agency. So Germany have the SS, the German secret police.
SS?
It's just SS, Secret Service. Or it doesn't stand for that, but I can't remember what it stands for, but they were known as the SS. Did you catch what the American CIA was called before it was the CIA?
No.
And it was, I know it, but it was mentioned, the OSS.
No, I didn't catch that.
So that's the name. The
OSS.
The Americans set their own version up, and they call it the OSS.
Okay.
And that is just to counteract. There's also another great bit in this film where one of the characters says, you know, we're going to get involved in this war eventually. And this is in like 1939. Like well early on in the war. Americans don't get involved until like the very end. But that fascinated me because I was like, oh God, yeah, they must have known they were going to get involved thinking about it. Now I know a bit more about the whole thing.
Whoa, it's a world war. Do you know what I mean? Like if
They're so big, but
Yeah.
it's just England.
for them not to like even think about them getting involved would be like, what are you sort of some sort of like higher power doesn't need to get involved in a world war.
Yeah,
you
well,
know what I mean?
before this, England were considered a lot more of a global power than we like are now. America like really rule the roost now. America and China.
Yeah.
But we were like, it kind of ties in with what the Iron Giant that we last watched with the whole Sputnik thing. We really thought we were the bee's knees in the 1940s. We'd beat Hitler. It was like we are like the
best.
top of the food chain.
Yeah. Top dogs.
But then stuff started happening, like the Americans having to get involved in the war. That's always a very touchy subject with anyone from the war generation.
Mm-hmm.
That I was trying to think what the slang name for because we called the Germans the Jerrys.
Did we?
Yeah, and then there's the Yanks. Yeah, the Yanks.
The Yanks, yeah.
We're very kind of bitter about the idea that we had to get the Yanks to help, basically. So
we're not top dog.
Yeah, and over the past 50 years, we've really seen the fall of, or the perceived fall of, where England thought they were on the world stage. In my head, we can never be that powerful because we're like literally smaller. Like we're an island. We can only have so much influence. America is huge. But so the OSS is set up, and that sounds like, it uses the same initials, but whatever. Okay, I can deal with that. Then the war ends, and something called Operation Paperclip happens, and America scoop up all the German rocket scientists and quite a few different scientists and engineers. So then you've got this office that was set up in mirror image of the German intelligence service, the OSS, that's now populated with German people, like German scientists. And it's what we can kind of take from that is America and Britain might have won the war, but then the German way of thinking was
Still alive.
Yes, was very alive, and it was just being controlled
to help, obviously.
To help America.
And America.
But then Russia did the same thing, and that's why the Cold War was such a problem. Because the Americans got all these German soldiers, scientists and engineers, and saw all this tech that they were working on, and they were like, oh, this is pretty cool. But then they're like, oh, no, this means Russia know about this as well.
Do you think there still are people that are working on stuff?
What do you mean?
Like, do you think in Russia there's...
I think Russia refer to like... we're having a whole debate about like UFOs and stuff like that. But in America, in Russia, they don't call them UFOs. They call them plasma-based phenomena.
Plasma-based phenomena.
Yeah, and stuff like that.
That's a great name.
They've got whole other sets of terms for stuff like that.
PvP.
They've been like...
Wow.
Because America change it all the time. It's UAP now.
UAP? What?
Unidentified aerial phenomena. That's the official US... That's how the US government refer to what
dumb
they once referred to as UFOs.
That's what I call dumb. UFO was so much better.
Yeah, well, it's classic, isn't it?
Yeah.
But... So that is shown in this film, like the whole German crossover sort of thing, and then you find out that the guy who Matt Damon's character gets that professor fired for having German interests.
Yeah.
But then it turns out he was the head of the whole operation.
Yeah, he was like...
And he recruits him later for the OSS.
Well, he's his advisor. And then, obviously, he's been in that game for so long that he's like...
But then he knows
too much
He knows too much, and he actually gets capped.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. But that, to answer your question regarding why it doesn't have like a traditional military like Full Metal Jacket training montage in it is because they're not looking. Obviously, you have to. It probably wasn't shown. It wasn't shown in this film, but you have to go under some physical testing. But it's more about your mind. The British spy in this film says at one point to Matt Damon's character, "They told me at the academy that you have to have a few things to be a good spy." And he says, "A mind, like a mind that won't quit." What was the second thing? A mind that won't quit. Something else, and then you've got to be a hopeless romantic. Is the third thing that he's. I can't remember what the second thing was, but the first two were like very tough. You've got to like have a strict mind and and you just won't quit sort of thing. And then, but to be the hopeless romantic, I completely get that because you've kind of got to like pull something off that seems like impossible. Which is how like a hopeless romantic is. They think they'll get this girl that like they'll never get sort of thing. Like that's the hopeless romantic. So I can completely see as an intelligence officer, like if you've got to kind of have this romantic optimism that it's all going to work out in the way that you want it to, sort of thing. But is it that romantic optimism that keeps Matt Damon going to the point where his whole life's fucked?
I don't think so, because if it was for the hopeless romantic, he would have taken the whole like that girl that he has at the start.
But he's
that deaf girl, and then at the end.
But his girl, so to speak, is America.
Yeah, I mean
that's what I mean. He's the hopeless romantic for
America,
the Bureau, the CIA, the or America, but then. That's the thing. He's so passionate about his country. He's so passionate about the CIA. They're two separate things. And he doesn't quite know what he's actually passionate about by the end of the film. You know what I mean? It's like, because what the CIA is and what America is changes over time. So he's made himself proud of being so on the ball all the time. But he's so on the ball that he's actually like stopped. He's been so on the ball for so long that he can't actually pay attention to what's happening anymore. No, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a bit like Zodiac. It reminded me of that.
What do you think? Who do you think killed his son's wife?
I think that.
Do you think it was him?
You know, once I found out, Martin, that there were parts of this film that moved in time and the storyline wasn't linear, you could tell me like a lot of stuff about this. Like when I was watching this film, I was thinking, see, I like this film because I already know that I'm going to spend like the next month looking up this film.
Because you have to understand everything I went through. Now now that I told you about that timeline, you're like,
there's big chunks.
Oh shit, I didn't even notice that. Maybe I should like go back
there's big chunks that I don't understand, which is really exciting to me. It means that you know, I'm going to keep going until I do understand all of this. And it's got me thinking about Robert DeNiro and why he'd want to make a film like that. It's interesting that he decided to make a film like this, and it looks like the sort of film that wasn't so easy to make. You know what I mean? It looks like he called some favors in to make this film.
Has he made any more films?
He's got one other film that he's made.
What's that?
It's called A Bronx Tale, and it's all about New York.
Is that on the list?
I believe it is on the list, yeah. I will have... If I added this... I know I added this because Robert De Niro directed it. There's no other reason. Like, I wouldn't add it because Matt Damon's in it. I might add it because it's about the Skull and Bones Club. I'm trying to remember or work out what attracted me to this film. But
now, you know.
Yeah, well, I'm betting it's just because I went on Robert De Niro's Letterboxd and saw that he had...
directed 2 films.
Yeah, and I didn't know he directed them. So I hazard a guess if this one's on there that A Bronx Tale will be on there. I mean, there's so much more that one could talk about with this film, but I would...
Yeah, give us your closing thoughts.
Yeah, it's one of those films. It's like 2001. Yeah, we've done an episode on it, but like, have we covered it? No, like
because there's so much to talk about. Like the film was although it was quite long, I thought it was longer than it actually was.
No, Enter the Void was actually longer than that.
Yeah, so like...
It just felt Possibly longer than Enter the Wood.
because of how much information they throw at you.
And it's how he is as a character. He's very slow
Yeah.
in the way that, I think it's designed like that to make you feel the weight on his shoulders that he must feel, or he puts the weight on his shoulders because if he didn't love his country so much, then that weight wouldn't be there, sort of thing. But like you feel like him, like so much going on and not knowing what's true and what.
Some of the scenes on here were like, how does he know that? Like how did he get that information? I know that information is, I know that knowledge is everything in the CIA game, but like,
but then
to get the information on like how he got that information, you're like, who gave it to him? How did he get it?
Just as important as information in this film was disinformation.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole idea, which I find absolutely fascinating, and it is more relevant than ever in 2021 with, the fake news and all that, the world that we live in with social media. People need to understand that since the 1940s, actual intelligence agencies have been
growing,
spreading false information.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's like a rumor out there, but not even a rumor, if there's information out there that the CIA don't want out there, be it true or false, they'll send someone to fuck with that narrative. And an example of it would be in the 1950s when the infamous flying saucer flap happened and everyone was
amazed,
looking up in the sky, and it was happening for the first time. Just like the fraternities, groups started to form in villages of people that would meet at night to talk about the flying saucer phenomenon. And the CIA, the newly formed CIA, actually sent agents out to all of these groups, number one, to find out if they had any legitimate information, and number two, to spread a load of absolute bullshit into it, to make sure that they get the information that was right, and then they make sure that no more right information can come out of this group.
Yeah.
And there's lots of evidence of stuff like that happening. Like, there was a man called Phil Schneider who, with some radio gear, picked up what he thought were alien messages on his radio. What it actually was is that there was a American army base nearby, and he just tuned into that. But the American government were not happy that he did tune into that. It was something that wasn't meant. You weren't.
Happen.
Yeah. So what the retaliation was for that is the American government sent a man to Phil Schneider to tell him, yeah, you've done it. You've contacted aliens. And it sent him insane. And Phil Schneider's dead.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is that Zack Snyder's dad?
No, that has nothing to do with Zack Schneider.
But that is crazy.
MK Ultra was referenced in this, which I've spoke to you about loads of times. The whole thing about the American government taking over. Well, I guess MK Ultra is known for them taking over brothels and drug dens in low-income areas and giving them psychedelic drugs to see if they could be used as truth serum, to see if they could be used to turn them into super soldiers, to see if they could hypnotize them, to see if they could become psychic using LSD. All of these.
And obviously they used it
things
on
were
that
tested.
guy.
And it was used on this guy, and what did he do?
He was like, oh, my name is... Oh, he had a long name, and he's just like, I'm free. He jumped off a window.
Well, he spat a whole lot of truth about how Russia's not actually a threat to the West at all, and they just need it to keep the military-industrial complex going, which was like, wow. And then he said, I'm free, and jumped out a window.
But the whole, like, he was innocent.
So,
because the other guy was telling a lie.
He was innocent, number one. Number two, jumping out a window is like the number one thing that like the drug PSA people will tell you about acid. They'll say, oh, well, if you take acid, you'll think you can fly and you'll jump off a building. And that myth. So when I say that this film is based on true events, that did happen in the MK Ultra. The actual MK Ultra experiments. A man did jump out a window because he'd been given LSD, but he wasn't told he was given LSD, and he thought he was going insane, and he jumped out a window. Then that became the big scare tactic for getting people to not do LSD. But he only freaked out because he was given it against his will.
Yeah.
And he didn't know about it. And that's a completely rational fucking response to being drugged. Like, thinking you're dying or whatever. Like, so you can start to see how misinformation, propaganda, actual information, it's subject matter I find absolutely fascinating because, you know, we're going to wrap this podcast up shortly, but it has literally been a toe dip just into this film.
And now it's when you take a full fucking dive into it.
Well, yeah, as soon as tomorrow I'll spend the whole day like going through it. And that, you know, I don't feel too bad about a podcast where we don't go too deep into it because number one, it's not that deep, bro.
It's not that deep, bro.
And number two, you can hear, like, I'm excited about this film.
Yeah,
It's not like-
you're very excited.
It's not like, but there's so much to talk about that I know I can't get it all out. So I'm quite happy to recommend this film to the ambitious film watcher, you know, the person that likes a bigger portion
That's what I like to hear, bro.
at the cinema.
Mhm.
And really pick it apart. Like, don't let it scare you, you know, the density of a project like this. That's how I feel about it. Anyway, I'm sure it's not for everyone with its length.
Well, guys, thank you for listening.
Mine's done for.
I have been very, very glad to see this film. It was very...
You enjoyed it?
Yeah, it was very informative.
It wasn't. It was
So-
like. It was like entertaining. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like
very
you
entertaining,
could
yeah.
consistently watch it, whereas
A lot of information was given to me. I sort of like understand a little bit more talking to you about it. So
Oh,
those
yeah,
are my closing thoughts.
same with you. I learned a lot about this film speaking to you. Mostly that there was a time travel element to this
Yeah,
film. That
I understood it once I I looked at, because I kept seeing little bits of like not misinformation, but like information that didn't make sense in the story that he was portraying from the beginning. But then once I knew what was happening, I sort of like, oh, okay. So it's sort of telling the main story that's happening now and him being at the CIA and how he got to the CIA and what he had to do.
I
So
mean-
once I knew that, I was like, I know what's happening, but I still don't get it. And then I've explained that to you.
And I
You've
think
explained it to me.
we'll possibly like talk about
Done.
this film for weeks
Few
to come.
days.
I imagine, yeah. But yeah, go watch The Good Shepherd, Robert De Niro. Very classy filmmaking.
Catch us on the flip side. You know where to get us at. The YouTube, the Spotify, the Apple Music, the MIPLTD.org website. Hit us up in the comment section below, wherever
IP.
it may be.
LTD.
And tell us what you thought of the film if you've watched it. If you have not watched it and we've helped you want to watch it, then you're welcome. And we'll see you next time.
Keep it easy and remember,
Life is breezy.
breathe.